you may know the reason why I got into the 28 thinking skills and know about the 28 thinking skills was because of my reading struggles in 5th grade. Up until that point, I spent endless amount of hours out of the classroom with tutors, thousands of dollars. Well, not my money, my parents' money. And they were having enough of it. Like they were doing all this and like the results were just not there, right? And this is like already 5th grade. So think about how many years that is. And they were like, okay, time to do something else. So they brought in people who were trained in the 28 thinking skills and the Forresting method. And we literally worked on how my brain was thinking and did none of the reading things. And then my reading just improved because how my thinking had improved. Now, at that time in 5th grade, I knew I wanted to learn this, but I did not think it would be my whole life. I honestly, at that point, wanted to be a photographer, which was something that I ended up doing for quite some time. Even like as a kid, I don't know, like 12, 13, I had like a mini photography business. In college, I had like a proper photography business, and that was super fun. But this story happened, and I was like, okay, this is way more important. And I went like full in on this. Okay. The training for the Forresting method for what I do is a couple of years process. It usually takes a couple of years, depending how you do it. But while you are learning it, you can begin working with people. And so I tried to start training at 17, was doing it a little bit on the side together with my photography business and started seeing some incredible results with some of the children that I was working with and was continuing my training. Now, a couple years into this training, I had also randomly taken a Tony Robbins course called Rapid Planning Method. Essentially, it's a method how to plan based on your motivation and not your to-do list. We think about like, oh, I have to send this email and I have to do this laundry and all the 100 things that I have to do. And he's like, no. Take a step back. Look at your motivations of like, what do you want in 6 months? What do you want in a year? Based on that, create your plan of what you are going to do today. And I thought that was pretty cool, right? Like I'm doing stuff based on my motivation instead of like my to-do list. Like I like the sound of that. And so I took his program. I listened to all the recordings. I did all the exercises that he said to do when he gets a lot of them. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not get to that planning of what he wanted us to do because he was like, don't plan for today. Plan for your future. Like even as you're making your like activity, think about like your year ahead. Don't think about today. And although I was consider myself like a super productive person and I would plan my day every single day the night before, I could not do that. I just couldn't. I actually did a video about this recently about like my whole like planning evolution. And I will link to that below so you could see what exactly like what was happening. Like I literally would just plan my day every single day the night before. And like I consider myself super productive because of it. And like I would get everything done and knock everything off, but I could not plan a year ahead. So I was like, you know what? Okay, this is just not for me. Cool course, not for me. A few months later, I took another training in this Forresting method that this time worked specifically on the thinking skill of categorizations. Okay. Now, I always thought I was really good at categorizations. I mean, like simple. You give me something to categorize, you give me a bowl of marbles, I have to like split them according to color. I could do that no problem. You give me animals and you tell me to like split them by size. I could do that no problem. But what happens if you give me random, individual, abstract tasks that I have to put together and create those into groups? Now that I really struggled with. And after improving my cognitive function of categorization during this training, even though I was learning how to help other people, my entire life changed by the end of this training because, and now was changed how I structured my day and saved over 10 hours every single week. I changed my approach to business in general and literally tripled my business by basically doing just a couple of tweaks to the business. I changed my relationships with people in some of the most craziest ways. Well, first of all, when you can think in more ways, you can communicate in more ways, and that obviously helped tons. But also at that time, I'm like a super neat person, okay? And I like everything in its proper place. And I think everything has to go to its proper place right away, which is a really good habit to have. However, not everybody has that habit, and not everybody puts things right away where they belong. It just doesn't happen, especially when you live with ADHD people. Well, I shouldn't say it just doesn't happen. Just because you have people with ADHD, those people having it develop the skill, but that's a conversation for another time. And this used to cause a lot of friction between me and the people I was living with, because they won't put something away right away. They'll be like, why? I could just put this away in a half hour. Like, why did I have to like rush right now to put it away? But in my brain literally could not take this item and put it on the back burner and be like, okay, I'm grouping this as a task for later. It would literally be firing in my brain so much that I could not move and I could not continue until that item was put away. Are you understanding what's happening here? The amount of friction that I had with the people around me was really high because I needed those things to be put away in order to function, literally in order to function. Because if not, my brain's antennas were just like, this thing is to get put away. This thing is to get put away. Instead of understanding that it is okay for it to go on the back burner. Simply because this thinking skill of categorization and understanding that this could go in a group, in a category for later, has not been developed. And so as soon as I improved this thinking skill, I didn't have to do any work. All of a sudden, like magically, I saw that thing and I was like, hey, that actually doesn't bother me anymore. Because right now my brain translated it into, it's going to go away later. They're going to take care of it. And like, I don't have to think about it. And my brain's antennas were calm. And I was able to be calm and think about all the relationships with all those people were a whole lot calm. Right? I literally, so that's like one major thing that like, I don't speak enough about, but I really like want people to know. A lot of people will be like, oh, like you have to work on yourself and like on your character, or like you need therapy, or like all these other things. And honestly, it was just a thinking skill, improve that thinking skill, and magic. Like it literally went away magically. Like I didn't even have to do anything. It like took me actually like a couple of days to realize like, hey, this is actually not bothering me. I was like, yeah, because it's going on the back burner and it's away. Now, I know I said in the beginning of this that like it saved me 10 hours every week. Honestly, it saved me a lot more. When I started, it saved me probably like 10, 20 hours every week. And because I've been doing all that for so many years, now my categorization is like on another level that I save like, I don't even know if there's a way to calculate it, but because I don't just like categorize my tasks or batch my tasks the way people do, I literally batch it down into the minute details, and to like the energy that I need and the focus that my brain is in, and the like the train of thought that my brain is in, that like these things just happen so quickly and so naturally that like I'm able to plan 6 months ahead of podcast episodes, months ahead of emails and YouTube videos. Like everything is like batched and organized, that even when my dad fell off a bike and became paralyzed from the neck down, and literally like from one day to the next, I had to fly to Florida to like go and help him and things like that. And I had my podcast was relaunching. You understand like the pressure of people for a relaunch podcast. And it just all happened smoothly. Everything was in place. I didn't have to do anything because all of this was batched and done 2 months before, that I didn't have to think about it at the time when this emergency happened. So as you can see, there's a reason why I am super passionate about cognitive functions. And this was the thinking skill that I was like, adults need this too. Successful entrepreneurs need this too. We have pretty good thinking skills because like we've got to this point. If you build a business that is bringing in income month after month, year after year, you better have some thinking skills going on there. But if you really want to take it to the next level, if you really want to like save more time and be work more productive, work more efficiently, maybe you want to work less hours, maybe you want to raise your income, maybe you want to like 10x your business. I don't care what your goal is, but by you improving your thinking skills, it is going to make it a whole lot easier for you. So if that is something you want to do, I highly suggest you check out your Entrepreneur Brain Rewired. It's where we work on all these 28 thinking skills. So these things happen naturally. Same way I didn't have to think about those items that people were leaving around anymore, and it just happened by itself. You don't have to think about other things that are currently a struggle for you in your business. They just happen by yourself. So the link to that will be right below. Fill out your application, and I will love to see if you are a good fit for your Entrepreneur Brain Rewired. That's it for now. I will catch you on the next episode.